stop scrolling, because that Kennedy half dollar sitting in an old collection, a coin jar, a bankroll, or even forgotten pocket change could be far more interesting than its 50-cent face value. Today, we are looking at 4 of the most valuable and highly sought after Kennedy half dollars in the American coin market, with extraordinary examples reaching $10,000s of dollars and one famous specimen reaching an auction record of $156,000. So, before you spend another Kennedy half dollar, look closely at the date, mint mark, strike quality, surface, and unusual features, because the right combination can turn an ordinary-looking coin into a major collector discovery. Let's get started with the first coin. Imagine finding a 1776 to 1976 Kennedy half dollar sitting quietly in an old coin jar, a family collection, a drawer, or even among everyday pocket change, and then discovering that the same historic design has brought thousands of dollars of the highest certified grades. This is exactly why the 1976 bicentennial Kennedy half dollar continues to attract attention from collectors, dealers, and people searching through their old American coins. Today, we are taking a close look at this remarkable 50-cent piece, its history, its Independence Hall reverse, its Denver D mint mark, its condition, its collector appeal, and most importantly, what the market can actually pay for exceptional examples. So stay with me, because this coin has a fascinating story behind it. And the biggest lesson is that condition, certification, varieties, and the exact type of coin can completely change the value. The 1776 to 1976 bicentennial Kennedy half dollar was created to celebrate 200 years of American independence, and it is one of the most recognizable commemorative circulating designs ever placed into the hands of the American public. The dual date, 1776 to 1976, immediately connects the coin with the American Revolution and the bicentennial celebration, while the reverse presents Independence Hall, the historic Philadelphia building associated with the Declaration of Independence and the founding era of the United States. The obverse continues the famous John F. Kennedy portrait designed by Gilroy Roberts, making this coin a combination of American history, presidential history, national celebration, and classic United States coinage. The coin was first released during the bicentennial period and became extremely popular, with production extending across 1975 and 1976. And the Denver Mint struck an enormous number of the copper-nickel-clad circulation pieces, giving collectors today an important historical coin that can still be found outside specialized collections. The dramatic market story appears when we move into extremely high certified grades, because preservation is where this otherwise abundant issue becomes much more challenging. PCGS records an auction result of $8,400 for a 1976 clad Kennedy half dollar graded MS-66 at Heritage Auctions on August 18, 2024. And PCGS also records several impressive results for MS-67 and MS-67 Plus examples, including a $3,325.50 result for an MS-67 Plus coin at Great Collections in February 2026, while another MS-67 Plus example brought $1,631.25 in March 2026. These results demonstrate an important principle of the rare coin market. The coin does not have to be rare in original mintage to become difficult and valuable in a particular elite grade, because the number of coins surviving in truly exceptional condition can be dramatically smaller than the original production figure. NGC Auction Information provides another useful look at the high-grade market. Its auction archive shows a 1976 bicentennial Kennedy half dollar graded MS-67 by PCGS selling for $488 in February 2026, while an earlier MS-67 PCGS example sold for $960 in 2019. These figures show why collectors should never rely on a single headline number when discussing coin values. Auction prices can move substantially depending on grade, certification, appeal, demand, timing, auction venue, and the exact characteristics of the individual coin. The same date and mint mark can therefore represent dramatically different market levels. And this is why professional grade is much more informative than simply calling a coin rare. The PCGS auction record is especially interesting because it proves just how wide the market range can become for the 1976 issue, PCGS lists an auction record of $8,400 for the regular strike 1976D clad Kennedy half dollar, while also showing recent sales for elite MS 67 plus examples in the low thousands of dollars. This does not mean every coin with the same date and mint mark is worth thousands. Rather, it means the finest survivors can enter a completely different collector market, where registry collectors, advanced Kennedy half-dollar specialists, and condition-focused buyers compete for tiny improvements in preservation. This is one of the most exciting concepts in numismatics. A coin can be common in general circulation, but uncommon at the very highest certified grade, and that difference can create major price separation. Condition is one of the strongest factors in the market for the 1976D Kennedy half dollar, and this is where collectors should understand the difference between circulated grades, such as very fine, and uncirculated grades, such as mint state. A very fine coin has visible circulation where, while an MS coin has not been circulated in the normal sense and is graded according to its preservation, marks, luster, strike, and overall appearance within mint state grades, even a single grade point can make a major difference when the supply of high-grade examples becomes limited. This explains why a circulated coin and an elite certified example can look like two completely different investments, even though both carry the same 1776 to 1976D date combination. The collector demand for this coin comes from several directions at once. First, there are Kennedy half-dollar collectors who want the complete series. Then there are bicentennial collectors who specialize in the 1776 to 1976 celebration. There are collectors interested in presidential coins, American history, Independence Hall, modern United. A collector should also learn how to identify the difference between face value, collectible value, and auction value. Face value is simply the legal denomination of the coin. Collectible value reflects what collectors may pay based on demand and condition, while auction value is the actual amount achieved in a specific public sale. These numbers are not always identical, and an auction record is never a guarantee that every example will achieve the same amount. This distinction is extremely important because online videos often show a spectacular sale price and then suggest that every coin of the same date is worth that amount. The better approach is to identify the exact variety, exact composition, exact grade, certification, and comparable recent sales before estimating a realistic market value. When you see claims that a 1776 to 1976D Kennedy half dollar is worth hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars, approach those claims with curiosity, but also with careful verification. There is no credible basis for saying that an ordinary circulated very fine 1976D clad half dollar is automatically worth millions. And the documented auction evidence for this specific regular strike issue is measured in face value for ordinary circulated pieces and thousands for exceptional certified examples. The genuine excitement is already strong enough without exaggeration, because an $8,400 auction record for an exceptional grade is a significant result for a modern clad half dollar. And recent certified MS 67 plus results in the thousands show that condition rarity can create substantial collector premiums. The market also teaches us an important lesson about the word rare. A coin can be historically important without being rare, it can be old without being rare, it can be attractive without being rare, and it can even be difficult to find in perfect condition without being rare in overall mintage. The 1976D Kennedy half dollar is a perfect example. More than 287 million were produced. So the original supply was enormous. Yet the finest certified examples can command impressive prices because collectors compete for top condition. PCGS and Great Collections data clearly demonstrate this separation between overall availability and condition rarity. And this is why serious collectors focus on the exact grade and certified population rather than relying only on a date. For someone holding a very fine circulated 1976D bicentennial Kennedy half dollar right now, the best strategy is to preserve it as a historical collectible rather than assume it is a jackpot coin. The coin has already survived roughly half a century since the bicentennial era, and its historical story is genuine. If it has interesting toning, attractive surfaces, a strong strike, an unusual error, or another recognized variety, Its appeal can increase, but the normal circulated example should be valued realistically. This honesty actually makes the high-grade auction results more impressive, because when collectors pay thousands for exceptional pieces, they are paying for qualities that are genuinely difficult to find, not simply for the presence of the 1776 to 1976 date. The Denver D-Mint mark is another detail worth showing viewers closely. On Kennedy half dollars, the mint mark identifies where the coin was produced, and for this issue, the D indicates Denver. Collectors often use mint marks to build date and mint collections, and a complete collection may include Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco issues depending on the particular series and format. This tiny letter can therefore become one of the first things a beginner learns to check whenever you find a 1776 to 1976 Kennedy half dollar. Turn it over, inspect the mint mark, determine whether it is D or another issue, and then identify whether you have a regular clad circulation coin or a special collector issue before making any value assumption. The 1976 D issue also illustrates how the United States Mint responded to enormous public interest in bicentennial coinage. The Kennedy half dollar became the first bicentennial design released to the public, and the Denver Mint production reached 287,565,248 pieces across the bicentennial production period, a huge increase compared with the 1974 Kennedy half dollar production. This enormous production explains why circulated examples can still be found, but it also created millions of coins that entered circulation and acquired marks, scratches, wear, and other imperfections. The challenge for modern collectors is therefore not finding any 1976 D half dollar. The challenge is finding one with the exceptional preservation that advanced collectors want. At the same time, collectors should understand why the highest certified examples can become highly desirable. The population of coins at the very top of the grading scale is much smaller than the number originally produced, and advanced collectors sometimes compete aggressively to obtain coins that qualify for registry sets or represent superior condition for the date. PCGS currently records an MS67 plus population and recent sales reaching thousands of dollars, including a $3,325.50 result in 2026, while its overall auction record for the regular strike is $8,400. These are legitimate documented market results and provide a much stronger foundation for a value discussion than unsupported claims of million-dollar prices. The biggest message from the 1776 to 1976 D Kennedy half dollar is that the coin market rewards knowledge, not just excitement. The date alone does not create a fortune. The D-Mint mark alone does not create a fortune, and simply finding the word bicentennial does not guarantee a rare treasure, but exceptional condition, recognized varieties, genuine mint errors, strong eye appeal, and professional certification can transform the market position of an otherwise common issue. That is exactly what makes numismatics so fascinating. Two coins that appear almost identical to a casual observer can have completely different collector demand once their grade, surfaces, strike, variety, and certification are examined carefully. As we look at the market today, the most responsible way to describe the 1976 D bicentennial Kennedy half dollar is this: ordinary circulated examples remain widely available and generally stay close to face value, while high-quality certified examples can bring substantially more, with documented auction results reaching $7,000 and an impressive PCGS recorded auction record of $8,400 for an exceptional MS66 example. This is the real opportunity collectors should understand. Not every coin is a fortune, but the very best examples can become genuinely valuable. And that difference makes searching old collections, rolls, inherited coin jars, and pocket change an exciting activity for anyone interested in American numismatics. There is also a powerful historical reason to preserve these coins. 1976 marked the 200th anniversary of American independence, and the dual date 1776 to 1976 is permanently connected with that national celebration. Every surviving example tells part of that story, from coins that circulated through American communities to coins that were protected by collectors and eventually achieved remarkable grades. The coin therefore represents more than 50 cents. It represents a moment when the United States used everyday coinage to commemorate 2 centuries of national history. And that historical significance ensures that the bicentennial Kennedy half-dollar will remain an interesting collecting subject for generations. For viewers who are serious about searching their own coins, remember that the most exciting discovery may not be the first coin that looks unusual. It may be the coin that survives careful examination, shows outstanding original surfaces, has a strong strike, possesses an unusual authenticated variety, or reaches an extraordinary certified grade. This is why experienced collectors use magnification, accurate references, professional grading information, and auction archives instead of simply believing a viral price claim. The 1976 Kennedy half-dollar gives us a perfect example of how a coin can move from everyday circulation to serious collector interest when the right combination of rarity, condition, and demand comes together. Next up, imagine finding an ordinary-looking half-dollar in an old collection, a box of coins, a drawer, or even among everyday pocket change, then discovering that the date reads 1980 and the reverse carries the powerful American Eagle design. This is exactly the kind of discovery that can make a coin collector stop and look twice. Welcome back to the channel, because today we are taking a deep look at the 1980 Kennedy half-dollar, its history, its Eagle reverse, its condition, its rarity, collector demand, important varieties, possible error characteristics, and most importantly, its real market value today. Before we begin, there is one very important point to understand. The 1980 Kennedy half-dollar is not automatically a thousands or millions of dollars coin simply because it is for 1980. However, exceptional examples in very high certified grades can bring dramatically more than ordinary circulated pieces, and the strongest documented auction results for this date reach into the thousands of dollars, with PCGS currently showing an auction record of $3,840 for the 1980 Kennedy half-dollar and $4,935 for the 1980 Kennedy half-dollar, while the current PCGS price guide also shows much higher values for exceptional mint state grades. So the real story is not that every 1980 half-dollar is a fortune. The real story is that condition, mint mark, strike quality, preservation, certification, varieties, and genuine mint errors can completely change the collector market. For one apparently ordinary half-dollar, the history of this coin begins with one of the most recognizable American coin designs of the modern era. The Kennedy half-dollar was introduced in 1964 as a tribute to President John F. Kennedy following his assassination in 1963. The obverse features the portrait of Kennedy created from the work of sculptor Gilroy Roberts, while the reverse carries the presidential seal with an eagle at the center, a shield, arrows, an olive branch, stars, and surrounding inscriptions, making the eagle imagery one of the most important visual characteristics collectors notice when examining the coin. By 1980, the Kennedy half-dollar had become a copper nickel-clad circulating coin rather than the original 90% silver version used in 1964, which means that a normal 1980 circulation strike should not be treated as a silver half-dollar simply because it is a Kennedy half-dollar. The date itself is therefore important because it places the coin firmly within the copper nickel-clad period, and that distinction can prevent collectors from making a major valuation mistake. The 1980 issue is especially interesting because both Philadelphia and Denver produce circulation strikes, identified by the absence of a mint mark for Philadelphia and a D-mint mark for Denver, while San Francisco produced proof examples, giving collectors several avenues for collecting the year and its different formats. The 1980 date is also represented in modern registry collecting, where certified examples can become important pieces in competitive sets. And this is where a seemingly common half-dollar can become far more interesting when its grade, strike, preservation, and certification are examined carefully. Now let us examine the unique features that make the 1980 Kennedy half-dollar so recognizable. On the obverse, you will see the portrait of John F. Kennedy facing left, surrounded by the inscriptions Liberty and In God We Trust, with the date 1980 positioned near the lower portion of the design. On the reverse, you will see the American Eagle beneath a shield, holding arrows in one claw and an olive branch in the other, surrounded by stars, and the inscriptions United States of America in half. Dollar. This eagle is one of the reasons the coin can be described in a video title as an eagle half-dollar. But it is important to understand that this is the standard Kennedy half-dollar reverse design rather than evidence of a special eagle variety by itself. Collectors should also look carefully at the edge, because the edge can reveal whether the coin has the expected clad construction and whether there are unusual strikes or visible abnormalities. Another important feature is the mint mark or lack of mint mark, because identifying whether your coin is a 1980p issue or 1980D issue can immediately place it into the correct collecting category. And when a coin is being considered for serious value, the tiny details become increasingly important, especially the strength of the strike, the condition of the surfaces, the preservation of the fields, the sharpness of the lettering, the quality of Kennedy's portrait, the clarity of the eagle and shield, and the overall originality of the coin. These details can separate an ordinary circulated coin from a high-grade example that attracts much stronger collector attention. The phrase very good condition can sometimes create confusion because coin collectors use standardized grading terminology, and a coin that is genuinely graded very good is a circulated coin with considerable wear, while the major values associated with the 1980 Kennedy half-dollar are generally connected with much higher mint state grades. Therefore, if you have a 1980 half-dollar that looks very good to the eye, do not immediately assume that it is worth thousands of dollars. Instead, examine whether the coin is actually uncirculated, whether it has original mint luster, whether there are contact marks, scratches, discoloration, cleaning, edge damage, or other problems, and whether the coin could potentially qualify for professional certification. This is where condition becomes one of the most powerful factors in the market, because PCGS currently lists the 1980p issue at values that rise through the mint state grades and shows an especially strong upper grade range, while the 1980D issue reaches even higher levels in the strongest grades, with the published PCGS price guide extending to $4,500 for the 1980D at the highest listed grade range. The same source shows the 1980p reaching $2,750 in its strongest listed range. These numbers demonstrate why collectors pay close attention to preservation, but they should not be interpreted as a guaranteed selling price for every coin. Actual market results depend on the precise grade, certification, appeal, variety, timing, auction venue, and buyer interest. Rarity is another major part of the story, but rarity in modern coins has to be understood correctly. A coin can have a large original production and still become valuable in an unusually high certified grade because very few examples survive with exceptional preservation. This is known as condition rarity, and it is extremely important in the 1980 Kennedy half-dollar market. Collectors who build registry sets often compete for coins with superior grades, strong luster, clean surfaces, excellent strikes, and attractive appearance, meaning that the coin does not have to be historically ancient to attract serious demand. The 1980p and 1980D examples are both represented in PCGS registry collecting, and the 1980D has an especially interesting high-grade market according to the current price guide and auction records. PCGS reports an auction record of $4,935 for a 1980D MS example, while the 1980p auction record shown by PCGS is $3,840. These documented results are far more useful than dramatic internet claims about ordinary 1980 half-dollars selling for $700s of $60,000s or millions of dollars, because they give collectors a realistic picture of what exceptional certified examples have actually achieved. The important lesson is that rarity must be connected to a specific coin, specific grade, specific variety, and documented market result. And that is exactly why collectors should never judge value from the date alone. The current market value is where this 1980 coin becomes especially interesting, because there is a huge difference between an ordinary circulated example and a top-quality certified example. A normal circulated 1980 Kennedy half-dollar can remain close to its face value or modest collector value, depending on condition and demand, while stronger uncirculated examples can rise into higher price ranges, and elite certified examples can move into the $10,000s of dollars, according to the current PCGS price guide. The 1980p issue is shown across a range of mint state grades, with the strongest listed level reaching $2,750, while the 1980D issue reaches $4,500 in the strongest listed PCGS price guide range. And the documented PCGS auction records reach $3,840 for 1980p and $4,935 for 1980D. This is the kind of market evidence collectors should focus on when discussing a valuable 1980 Kennedy half dollar, rather than claiming that every coin can sell for thousands or millions. There is no reliable basis for saying that a normal 1980 Kennedy half dollar is automatically worth millions of dollars. But there is strong evidence that exceptional examples can be worth thousands, and a genuine major mint error or an exceptionally rare and properly authenticated variety could potentially create a completely different market situation. So the exciting part is knowing what to look for rather than assuming the highest possible number applies to every coin. For collectors searching for a valuable 1980 Kennedy half dollar, the first step is to identify the mint mark and determine whether you have a Philadelphia, Denver, or proof issue. Then examine the coin under good lighting without rubbing, polishing, cleaning, or attempting to improve its appearance, because cleaning can seriously affect collector appeal and grading potential. Next, look closely at the date, lettering, portrait, eagle, shield, stars, edge, and overall surfaces. Collectors should pay particular attention to unusual doubling, missing design elements, unusual strikes, off-center strikes, clip planchets, broad strikes, wrong planchet characteristics, unusual edge problems, or other features that appear to have originated during the minting process. But an important rule is that damage occurring after the coin left the mint is not the same as a genuine mint error. Scratches, dents, corrosion, machine damage, environmental damage, polishing, and other post-mint problems can look dramatic, but generally do not create the same collector premium if a suspected error appears significant. The smartest approach is professional authentication and grading rather than relying on a social media post or an online claim, because a genuine certified error can be much more collectible than an ordinary damaged coin. And proper documentation gives buyers greater confidence when the coin enters the marketplace. The role of professional grading can be extremely important when a 1980 Kennedy half dollar appears to be unusually well preserved, especially if the coin has strong original luster, minimal contact marks, attractive surfaces, sharp details, and an overall appearance that suggests a very high mint state grade. Certification can provide an independent grade and authentication record, and this becomes particularly valuable when the potential market value reaches hundreds or thousands of dollars. Collectors should remember that the difference between two numerical grades can sometimes have a major effect on price, especially near the top of the grading scale. This is why the market can appear surprising when one 1980 half dollar is worth little more than face value, while another example of the same date and mint mark sells for thousands. The coins can look similar to an inexperienced observer, but specialists evaluate microscopic marks, luster, strike quality, toning, preservation, and overall eye appeal. And the market rewards the strongest examples. The PCGS auction data provides a clear illustration of this principle, with the 1980D reaching an auction record of $4,935 and the 1980P reaching $3,840, showing that a coin from 1980 can absolutely enter the serious collectible market when the right combination of grade and quality is present. There is also a fascinating connection between the 1980 Kennedy half dollar and the idea of pocket change treasure hunting, because half dollars are still legal tender and collectors occasionally encounter older Kennedy half dollars in collections, inherited coin jars, bankrolls, estate holdings, or forgotten boxes, although a coin being found in everyday circulation does not automatically make it rare. The search itself can be exciting because every coin provides an opportunity to inspect a date, mint mark, condition, and possible error. When examining your own 1980 half dollar, hold it by the edges rather than touching the main surfaces. Use neutral lighting, compare it with trusted references, and avoid cleaning it. If the coin appears unusually sharp and bright with minimal marks, that is when the possibility of a valuable high-grade specimen becomes more interesting. And if you believe you have found a genuine error or an exceptionally high-grade coin, keep the coin protected. And seek professional evaluation. The most successful collectors are not the people who believe every unusual mark means a fortune. They're the people who learn how the mint produced the coin and then recognize when something truly unusual has happened. That knowledge turns ordinary coin searching into a serious collecting skill. When people hear the phrase rare coin worth thousands to millions of dollars, it is easy to become excited. But responsible collecting means separating extraordinary possibilities from established market evidence. For the 1980 Kennedy half dollar, the strongest publicly documented figures we can point to are in the thousands rather than millions. And that distinction is extremely important. The current PCGS data shows the 1980p and 1980D can reach substantial values in elite grades, while the auction records demonstrate that exceptional certified examples have already attracted thousands of dollars from collectors. This does not mean that a circulated 1980 half dollar sitting in your pocket is secretly worth millions. Instead, the real opportunity comes from identifying the exact version of the coin, checking its condition, determining whether it has a legitimate variety or mint error, and comparing it with actual certified market results. This is a much stronger and more credible way to present the coin to viewers, and it also helps collectors avoid disappointment from exaggerated claims. At the same time, the documented thousands of dollars paid for top examples prove that the date should not simply be ignored, because condition rarity and collector competition can transform an ordinary-looking modern coin into a significant numismatic asset. The biggest tip for collectors is simple. Never judge the value of a 1980 Kennedy half dollar from the date alone. Start with identification, then condition, then variety, then authentication, then market comparison. Look for the mint mark, study the surfaces, inspect the eagle and Kennedy portrait, examine the edge, compare the strike, and search for genuine mint-made abnormalities. If the coin appears heavily worn, it is unlikely to reach the values associated with elite mint state examples. But if the coin has exceptional preservation and appears to have escaped circulation, the situation becomes much more interesting. Collectors should also keep records of where the coin came from, how it has been stored, and whether it has been professionally graded, because provenance and certification can add confidence during a sale when comparing prices. Use recognized price guides and actual auction records rather than unsourced social media claims. And remember that a price guide is an estimate rather than a guaranteed offer. The actual selling price can change according to market conditions, buyer competition, grade, certification, IAPL, and the venue where the coin is offered. The goal should be to identify genuine value, protect the coin, and allow the market to determine what an exceptional example is worth. So, what should you remember about the 1980 Kennedy half dollar with the American Eagle reverse? The first point is that it is a genuine piece of modern American numismatic history. The second point is that the eagle on the reverse is part of the standard Kennedy half dollar design and does not by itself make the coin an extraordinary rarity. The third point is that condition is incredibly important, especially at the highest mint state levels. The fourth point is that the 1980p and 1980D issues have documented auction records in the thousands of dollars, with PCGS reporting $3,840 for a 1980p MS example and $4,935 for a 1980D MS example. While its current price guide shows top-level values reaching $2,750 for 1980p and $4,500 for 1980D, these figures demonstrate real collector demand without needing exaggerated claims. And they also show why you should never throw away an unusually beautiful Kennedy half dollar without first checking its date, mint mark, condition, and possible varieties. Next up, 1974 Kennedy half dollar, a coin that can look ordinary at first glance, but can become much more interesting when its date, mint mark, condition, strike quality, and possible error characteristics are examined carefully. And if you have ever found an old half dollar sitting inside a collection, drawer, inherited coin box, bankroll, or forgotten pocket change, you will want to pay close attention to this entire video, because the 1974 Kennedy half dollar belongs to one of the most recognizable American coin series ever produced, and certain high-grade examples and especially unusual varieties can attract strong collector attention. The important point is that a heavily weathered or rusty-looking coin should not automatically be called a $1 million rarity, because professional collectors separate ordinary environmental damage from genuine mint-made errors. And that distinction is exactly where the real opportunity begins. So stay with me as we explore the history, design, rarity, condition, collector demand, auction evidence, possible varieties, and the current market potential surrounding the 1974 Kennedy half-dollar. And before we begin, if you enjoy rare coins, valuable pocket change, American money, mint errors, old coins, and surprising auction discoveries, make sure you subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and leave a comment telling us which old American coin you would like us to investigate next. Because sometimes the most interesting discovery is not sitting inside a museum, it is sitting quietly inside an old collection waiting for somebody to recognize what they have. The history of the 1974 Kennedy half-dollar begins with one of the most important coin designs in modern American history. The Kennedy half-dollar was introduced in 1964 following the assassination of President John F. Kennedy, and the design quickly became an important part of American numismatic history. The obverse carries the portrait of President Kennedy, created by Gilroy Roberts, while the reverse features the presidential seal with an eagle surrounded by stars, making the coin instantly recognizable to collectors and the public. The 1974 issue arrived during a fascinating period in American coinage because the United States had already moved away from the original silver composition used for the first Kennedy half-dollars, and by 1974 the regular circulation pieces were copper nickel-clad coins. This composition gives the coin a distinctive appearance and also means that the word rusty can be misleading when describing a dark, brown, orange, green, or heavily stained example, because true rust is associated with iron-based metals, while a copper nickel-clad half-dollar can instead show environmental staining, corrosion, oxidation, discoloration, surface contamination, or other forms of damage after years of exposure to moisture and chemicals. This historical background is important because collectors do not judge a coin simply by how old it looks. They examine what actually happened to the surface and whether the unusual appearance came from the mint or from the environment after the coin entered circulation. One of the most important things to understand about the 1974 Kennedy half-dollar is its physical identity. The denomination is 50 cents. The coin has a diameter of approximately 30 millimeters, and its design represents a major chapter in United States presidential coinage. On the obverse, you should look carefully at the date, the portrait of Kennedy, the inscriptions "Liberty" and "I in God We Trust," and the overall sharpness of the lettering and design elements. On the reverse, you should examine the eagle, shield, stars, arrows, olive branch, lettering, and especially the areas around the eagle and the initials FG, because collectors of Kennedy half-dollars have developed a strong interest in varieties and unusual die characteristics. The mint mark is another critical detail. A 1974 Philadelphia issue generally has no mint mark, while a 1974 Denver issue carries a D mint mark, and that small letter can change the way the coin is identified and evaluated. The coin may also appear in different grades ranging from heavily circulated examples to brilliant uncirculated pieces, and the difference between a worn example and a certified high-grade example can be dramatic. This is why a collector should never rely only on a photograph showing an old dark coin. The date, mint mark, surfaces, strike, luster, and possible variety all need to be examined together. Now let us talk about the condition that can make a 1974 Kennedy half-dollar look rusty, damaged, dark, or unusual, because this is where many online coin stories become confusing. A coin with heavy brown staining, green deposits, black patches, reddish areas, rough surfaces, scratches, or other environmental effects may look extremely old and mysterious. But appearance alone does not establish a rare mint error. In fact, environmental damage can reduce the desirability of a regular coin even when the date is historically interesting. However, the story becomes completely different if the coin contains a genuine mint-made error or an exceptionally unusual variety that can be confirmed through professional examination. Collectors look for characteristics such as double design elements, unusual die strikes, broad strikes, off-center strikes, partial collars, brockage effects, multiple strikes, clip planchets, missing design details caused by a minting problem, and other documented abnormalities. The key word is genuine, because a damaged coin can imitate an error after decades of circulation, and collectors with serious money at stake want evidence that the unusual feature was created at the United States Mint rather than after the coin was released. Therefore, if your 1974 half dollar looks rusty or heavily altered, the most exciting question is not simply whether the surface is ugly or beautiful. The real question is whether there is an authentic mint-related feature hiding beneath that appearance. The rarity story of a 1974 Kennedy half dollar becomes much more interesting when condition and variety are considered together. An ordinary circulated 1974 half dollar is not automatically a rare treasure simply because it is more than 50 years old, but exceptional grades and recognized varieties can command much stronger collector interest. PCGS auction information shows that regular 1974 Kennedy half dollars have reached significant prices in very high grades, with an MS-67 example recorded at $192 in a June 2025 Stack's Bowers auction, while PCGS currently lists a price guide value of $1,350 for a 1974 MS-67, and higher levels can carry still greater guide values depending on the grade and market conditions. PCGS also records an auction result of $105 for a 1974 Broadstruck MS-63 example, showing why unusual mint-made characteristics can create a different collecting category. These figures demonstrate an important principle for anyone searching pocket change. The value is not created simply by the date 1974. The value is created by the combination of rarity, grade, variety, authentication, eye appeal, demand, and auction competition. And when several of these factors come together, a coin that looks ordinary in a casual setting can become a serious numismatic object. The 1974 Denver Kennedy half dollar adds another important chapter to this story, because the D-Mint mark identifies the coin as a Denver issue, and collectors track this issue separately from the Philadelphia coin. PCGS auction records show high-grade 1974D examples selling for meaningful amounts, including an MS-67 example that sold for $105 in a Stack's Bowers auction. And the current PCGS price guide data gives the 1974D series substantially higher values at certain upper grade levels, especially when the coin reaches exceptional certified condition. Even more interesting is the 1974D double die obverse variety, which has attracted specialist attention. PCGS records auction activity for this variety and lists considerably higher guide values for the strongest grades. One certified MS-66 example sold for $240 in the 2022 Stack's Bowers Global Showcase, while the PCGS guide has shown a $1,750 value for that specific variety and grade. This is an excellent example of why collectors must examine a coin carefully before deciding that it is merely common or damaged. A small difference in the design can sometimes separate a regular coin from a recognized variety, although every suspected doubled feature must be authenticated rather than assumed from a blurry photograph. The condition of the coin deserves special attention because a heavily rusty-looking or environmentally damaged 1974 Kennedy half dollar should be handled very carefully. Do not assume that cleaning will reveal a hidden fortune. Aggressive cleaning can permanently alter the surface and can remove original characteristics that professional graders use when evaluating a coin. Collectors generally prefer coins that retain natural surfaces and original mint characteristics, while severe environmental damage can create problems for grading and marketability. If your coin has heavy deposits or corrosion like discoloration, the safest approach is to avoid harsh chemicals, polishing compounds, abrasive materials, metal cleaners, or household methods that can scratch the surface. Instead, handle the coin by its edges and consider getting an opinion from a reputable coin dealer or professional grading service if you believe there is a genuine error or rare variety. This is especially important when the coin appears to have an unusual mint characteristic, because once a surface has been altered, it can become much harder to determine what happened originally. Preservation is therefore part of the value story, and a collector who protects a potentially important coin before experimenting with it is already thinking like a professional. The current market also shows why certified condition matters so much. PCGS auction data for the regular 1974 Kennedy half dollar includes examples ranging from modest auction results in circulated or ordinary high-grade territory to much stronger prices for top certified grades. PCGS currently shows the regular 1974 issue with guide values rising substantially at the upper end of the grading scale, including $1,350 and $2,500 in the higher listed grade levels, while the 1974D issue also rises significantly in exceptional grades. This does not mean every coin in those years is worth those amounts. It means the market recognizes scarcity at particular grades and varieties. Auction prices can also change over time, depending on collector competition, certification populations, appeal, market trends, and the exact characteristics of the individual coin. Therefore, when someone asks what a 1974 Kennedy half dollar is worth today, the correct professional answer is that there is no single value without identifying the mint mark, grade, variety, and condition. A common circulated example can be worth close to face value in many situations, while a truly exceptional certified example or important variety can move into the 10 hundreds or 9 thousands of dollars. And that wide range is precisely what makes coin hunting so fascinating. For collectors searching through old pocket change or inherited collections, the most important step is learning how to identify the coin before thinking about the price. Start with the date 1974, then look for the mint mark. Next, examine both sides under good lighting and use a magnifier if necessary. Study the lettering around Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, United States of America, half dollar, and the initials FG. Then look closely at the Kennedy portrait and the reverse eagle for unusual doubling, distortion, missing details, or abnormal shapes. After that, examine the edge and overall strike. A genuine mint error often has a logical relationship to the minting process, while post-mint damage can create random scratches, flattened areas, discoloration, corrosion, or altered lettering. Photographs can help with initial research, but serious identification should be based on clear evidence and comparison with trusted references. And if you believe you have discovered an important variety, professional authentication can be worthwhile, especially when the potential market value is high enough to justify certification. Now imagine finding a 1974 Kennedy half dollar in an old box. The surface looks dark and weathered. Perhaps it has reddish-brown staining. Perhaps the eagle looks unusual because of the damage. And perhaps the coin has been sitting untouched for decades. The first reaction might be excitement, and that excitement is understandable. But the smartest collector turns excitement into investigation. Instead of immediately declaring the coin a $1 million rarity, you document the date, mint mark, weight, diameter, edge, surface condition, and suspected variety. Then compare it with known examples. This approach protects you from both underestimating an interesting coin and overestimating a damaged common coin. And if the coin does show a genuine rare characteristic, the evidence becomes the foundation for a professional valuation. The market rewards authenticated rarity much more strongly than speculation. And that is why the best treasure hunters are not simply people who find old coins. They're people who know exactly what to look for after they find them. If your 1974 Kennedy half dollar is extremely worn or environmentally damaged, do not throw it away simply because it does not look beautiful. The coin may still be useful for research, date set collecting, variety searching, or educational purposes, and the most important discovery could be a feature that is difficult to see at first glance. However, do not let online headlines convince you that every rusty coin is automatically worth a fortune. The real treasure is the verified characteristic. A genuine double die, a major strike error, an extraordinary grade, or another recognized rarity can make a dramatic difference. PCGS records provide clear examples of this principle, including high-grade regular pieces and recognized 1974D double die examples that have achieved stronger market attention. The market is therefore highly selective, and that selectivity is good news for serious collectors because it creates a clear standard. Study the coin, identify the variety, verify the condition, authenticate the important characteristics, and then compare the coin with documented market results. Next up, Imagine opening an old collection, checking a box of inherited coins, or finding a 1988 Kennedy half dollar sitting quietly among ordinary pocket change, then noticing something that immediately catches your attention. There is no mint mark on the coin. Could this simple-looking half dollar be connected to the world of rare coins, valuable heirs, collector demand, auctions, and the enormous American coin market? Today, we are taking a close and fascinating look at the 1988 Kennedy half dollar. With no mint mark, exploring its history, design, condition, rarity, collector interest, possible varieties and errors, and most importantly, what a coin like this can realistically be worth in today's market. Because when it comes to old United States coins, the most important lesson is simple. Never judge a coin only by its age or appearance. Every detail can matter: the mint mark, strike, preservation, surface quality, possible error characteristics, provenance, and certification can all influence collector interest and market value. So stay with me, because by the end of this video you will understand exactly what makes a 1988 Kennedy half dollar interesting, what the missing mint mark means, what collectors should inspect, and why some exceptional examples can attract far more attention than an ordinary circulated example. And if you enjoy rare coin discoveries, American money, valuable coins, error coins, and hidden treasures that may be sitting unnoticed in collections, make sure you stay until the end, because this is where the real story begins. The story of the 1988 Kennedy half dollar begins with one of the most recognizable coins in United States history. The Kennedy half dollar was introduced in 1964 as a tribute to President John F. Kennedy following his assassination in 1963, and it quickly became one of the most famous commemorative-style, circulating coins in American history. The obverse features the portrait of President Kennedy, while the reverse displays the presidential seal with an eagle surrounded by stars, creating a design that combines national symbolism, history, and presidential remembrance. By 1988, the Kennedy half dollar had already been part of American coinage for more than 2 decades, and the series had developed a strong following among collectors who wanted examples from different years, mints, finishes, varieties, and conditions. This historical background is important because collectors do not look at a coin only as 50 cents of spending power. They also look at the story behind a coin, the design, the production year, the mint facility, the survival population, and the possibility that a particular specimen may possess a characteristic that separates it from ordinary examples. That is exactly why the 1988 issue deserves a careful examination rather than an immediate assumption that every example is either extremely rare or completely ordinary. The details tell the real story. Now let us focus on the feature that attracts so much attention: the missing mint mark. A 1988 Kennedy half dollar without a mint mark is associated with Philadelphia production, because coins struck at the Philadelphia Mint during this period normally carried no mint mark, while coins from other facilities could carry their respective mint identification. This means that seeing no mint mark on a 1988 Kennedy half dollar does not automatically mean that the coin is an error, and this is one of the most important points for collectors to understand. A genuine 1988 Philadelphia Kennedy half dollar can naturally have no mint mark, so the absence of a mint mark by itself should not be presented as proof of a rare mistake. However, this does not mean the coin has no collector interest. The real opportunity comes from examining the entire coin, including its grade, strike quality, surfaces, luster, unusual characteristics, possible die varieties, and especially any genuine mint error that can be verified. This is where a normal-looking half dollar can become a much more interesting numismatic object, because collectors are always looking for something that separates one specimen from thousands of others. And that difference may come from preservation, production quality, a recognized variety, or a documented minting anomaly. Condition is one of the biggest factors in the market for a 1988 Kennedy half dollar. And this is where the phrase "very good condition" must be handled carefully. Collectors use standardized grading concepts that distinguish circulated coins from coins that retain significant original detail and coins that remain in brilliant uncirculated condition. A coin described casually as very good may have visible circulation and wear, while a high-grade, uncirculated example can preserve much more. Original luster, sharper details, cleaner fields, and stronger overall eye appeal. When professional grading services examine coins, they consider numerous factors including wear, marks, scratches, luster, strike, surface preservation, and overall appearance. For modern Kennedy half-dollar, exceptionally high-grade examples can become much more interesting than ordinary circulated pieces because condition rarity can develop when fewer coins survive at the very highest certified grades. This is one reason collectors should never place the same value on every coin from the same year. Two coins may both say 1988 and both have no mint mark, yet their market positions could be dramatically different depending on preservation, certification, recognized variety status, and demand. Therefore, if you have a 1988 Kennedy half-dollar, examining its condition carefully is far more useful than simply assuming that the missing mint mark makes it rare. The next major subject is rarity and collector demand. And this is where the world of American coins becomes especially exciting. Rarity can mean different things in different collecting situations. A coin may have a low surviving population, a scarce variety, an unusual mint error, an exceptionally high certified grade, or a combination of characteristics that create strong demand. Collector demand can also change over time, especially when a particular series receives renewed attention from collectors, treasure hunters, online communities, auction buyers, and people searching through inherited collections. Kennedy half-dollars have a special advantage because the design is instantly recognizable and connected with American history, which gives the series an established collector audience. However, the 1988 no mint mark example should not be described as a guaranteed million-dollar coin simply because it lacks a mint mark. The strongest and most credible story is much more exciting. It is about learning to identify the difference between a normal Philadelphia issue and a genuinely exceptional coin. If a specimen has an unusual characteristic that can be authenticated, or if it survives in an extraordinary grade, the collector conversation can become much more serious. And that is exactly why careful examination matters. When we talk about market value today, we need to separate ordinary examples from exceptional examples because the American coin market includes an enormous range of prices, from coins worth close to face value or modest premiums, all the way to spectacular rarities that can bring thousands, tens of thousands, or in extraordinary cases much more. But a standard 1988 Kennedy half-dollar with no mint mark should not automatically be promoted as a coin worth thousands or millions of dollars. The no mint mark feature is normal for Philadelphia production in that year. So, a huge valuation requires something additional, such as an authenticated error, a highly significant variety, an exceptional certified grade, or another characteristic that creates genuine scarcity. Auction headlines about coins selling for extraordinary amounts often involve coins with very unusual combinations of rarity, condition, historical importance, and competition among wealthy collectors, and those results should never be transferred automatically to a common date coin. Nevertheless, this is good news for collectors because it gives you a clear path to understanding value. Rather than relying on rumors, you can examine the date, mint status, condition, surfaces, design details, possible errors, and certification, then compare the coin with documented sales of similar examples. This approach turns the search into a real numismatic investigation. One of the most important things to inspect on your 1988 Kennedy half-dollar is the surface. Use good lighting and examine both sides of the coin without cleaning it. Look carefully at the portrait, lettering, stars, rim, eagle, shield, feathers, fields, and edge. Collectors should pay attention to unusual doubling, missing design elements, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, broad strikes, dramatic die cracks, unusual metal characteristics, or other genuine mint-made features. But every unusual appearance is not automatically an error. Damage after the coin left the mint can create shapes that look unusual, and cleaning can reduce collector appeal by leaving scratches, unnatural shine, or altered surfaces. This is why experienced collectors recommend preservation rather than aggressive cleaning. If you believe your coin has an important error or variety, comparison with reliable references and professional examination can be much more valuable than polishing the coin or attempting home repairs. A coin that looks ordinary under weak lighting may reveal important details under proper inspection. And a coin that looks spectacular to an inexperienced eye may turn out to be ordinary damage. So patience is one of the most powerful tools a collector can have. The American coin market is much larger than the value printed on the coin itself. And that is why people continue searching through old collections, inherited boxes, bankrolls, estate collections, coin jars, and pocket change. The fascination comes from the possibility of finding something that has characteristics other examples do not have. A coin begins its life as an object produced for commerce. But once collectors recognize scarcity, condition, historical importance, or a fascinating error, the coin can become a collectible asset. Auction houses and specialist dealers evaluate coins according to market evidence, certified grades, rarity, provenance, demand, and the strength of competing buyers. Some spectacular United States coins have achieved prices reaching into the thousands, hundreds of thousands, and even millions of dollars. But those results belong to truly extraordinary pieces, and a responsible collector should always distinguish those famous auction records from the realistic value of an ordinary 1988 Kennedy half-dollar for a 1988 no-mint mark example. The exciting part is not claiming an automatic fortune. The exciting part is discovering whether the individual specimen has a special characteristic that deserves deeper research. If your goal is to determine whether your 1988 Kennedy half-dollar could be one of the more desirable examples, start by keeping the coin exactly as you found it. Do not scrub it. Do not use chemicals. Do not polish the surface, and do not attempt to improve its appearance with household materials. Next, inspect the date and mint area carefully. Remember that no mint mark is normal for Philadelphia production in 1988. Then inspect the coin under strong natural or neutral light. Compare the lettering and major design elements with a known normal example, and look for characteristics that appear to be part of the minting process rather than damage caused after production. If the coin appears unusually well preserved, consider professional grading, because a certified grade can provide an independent assessment of condition and can make a valuable coin easier to sell or compare in the marketplace. If you suspect a major mint error, professional authentication can also help determine whether the feature is genuine. And that step is especially important when large dollar values are being discussed, because serious collectors and buyers want evidence, not simply a dramatic description. There is also an important lesson about auction values. A headline saying that a rare American coin sold for thousands or millions of dollars does not mean every coin with the same date will receive the same price. Auction markets work through competition, and competition becomes intense when a coin is genuinely scarce and multiple collectors want the same exceptional specimen. Condition can create enormous differences. A coin that survives in a common circulated grade may have a completely different market position from a coin that survives in an elite certified grade. Likewise, a normal Philadelphia issue can be completely different from a dramatic and authenticated mint error. Therefore, the most valuable question is not simply, how old is this coin? The better question is, what specific characteristic makes this particular coin different? When collectors can answer that question with reliable evidence, they can move from casual speculation into serious numismatic research. And that is where the real excitement begins, because the journey from a 50-cent coin to a valuable collectible is based on identification, preservation, rarity, condition, documentation, and demand. For collectors building a Kennedy half-dollar collection, the 1988 issue can be an interesting part of the series because it represents a period when the coin had already become a long-established part of American coinage. Collecting the series can introduce beginners to mint marks, dates, condition, varieties, proof issues, errors, and grading. And the 1988 Philadelphia issue gives collectors a useful example of why mint mark knowledge is essential instead of treating every missing mint mark as a mistake. Collectors learn to understand which mints normally used mint marks and which issues naturally appeared without one. That knowledge can prevent mistakes and can also help a collector recognize genuinely unusual coins. Experienced collectors often enjoy this process because each coin becomes a small research project. The design provides historical context. The minting process provides technical context, and the market provides economic context. Together, these elements make coin collecting far more than simply placing old money in a box. It becomes the study of American history through objects that can still be held in your hand. Important note for every collector: market values can change. Auction prices can vary significantly, and extraordinary sales should never be used as automatic valuations for ordinary coins. The exact grade, authenticity, variety, error status, preservation, certification, appeal, and buyer demand all matter. If you believe your 1988 Kennedy half dollar has a major mint error or an exceptional condition level, professional authentication and certification are the safest way to establish a credible market position. And always compare against documented sales of closely matching coins rather than relying on generalized claims that a date alone is worth 12,000s or $9 million. This careful approach makes your collection stronger, your research more accurate, and your discoveries much more exciting.